Hey everybody, Byron Akagawa here, author of Secrets of an Interview. I'd like to speak to you today about failure. Now, how many times do you have to fail in life before you succeed? Or better yet, maybe the question should be, how many times have you failed in your life? Well, if you're anything like me, then you probably failed more times than you can count. Or maybe more times than you'd like to admit. Well, how many times do you have those voices in your head that say, you can't do that, you'll fail, why even try? Or worse yet, those small little phrases, negative phrases, that have a big impact like, I'm so stupid, or I'm an idiot, or why am I so lazy? Why do we say those things to ourselves in the first place? We have been programmed, indoctrinated, for over 13 years, from kindergarten to high school, that failure is not okay. Many of us, it's been pounded into us for many years after that, over and over, that failure is not okay. In fact, that failure is looked down upon, that we should be embarrassed that we failed, or that we should take this failure and hide it, or that we should get down on ourselves about past failures. What's worse is when those failures turn into fear. And those fears become so strong that they overcome us, and they become paralyzing, and they overrun our lives. They become so strong that we can't function properly. We can't even think properly in the face of them. So with all of this, how do we face these fears? How do we come over these? Well, first of all, let me tell you, you're not alone. Let me properly introduce you to some of the greatest so-called failures of all time. Maybe you recognize this person, Abraham Lincoln. In 1830, he was demoted from captain in the Army to private in the Army. In 1832, not only did he lose his job, but he was defeated for his bid for state legislature. In 1833, he failed in business. In 1835, he lost his sweetheart when she passed away. In 1836, he suffered a nervous breakdown. In 1838, he was defeated when he ran for Speaker of the House. In 1843, he lost the nomination for a congressional seat. In 1848, he was a member of Congress, and then he lost his renomination. In 1849, he was rejected for the position of land officer. He was declined an appointment as secretary, and also he lost for governor of Oregon. In 1854, he was defeated in the race for the U.S. Senate. In 1856, he was defeated for his nomination for vice president. In 1858, he was defeated again for a run for the U.S. Senate. In 1860, he was elected president of the United States. Maybe you know Winston Churchill, who in 1880 developed a speech impediment. In 1885, he managed to fail 6th grade. 1893, he failed the military college entrance exam. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. In 1895, he lost his mother. In 1897, he was defeated in war at Malakand. In 1899, he was defeated in Parliament, and then, later that year, he was captured as a POW. In 1904, he finally won a seat in Parliament, but ended up losing it that year. In 1908, he had a seat in the cabinet and lost a seat there as well. In 1921, he lost his 4th child, who died at the age of 3. In 1922, he was defeated for his bid for chancellor. In 1931, he lost his cabinet seat. But in 1940, he became the prime minister, inspiring the British resistance to Adolf Hitler. Through steadfast refusal to consider defeat, surrender, or compromise, he led Britain in the role until Hitler's defeat and is widely recognized as being among the most influential persons in British history. Perhaps you're not impressed with politicians, or maybe older figures don't resonate with you. Have you ever had an idea? Thomas Edison did. His teacher said he was too stupid to learn anything. In fact, he was fired from his first 2 jobs for being non-productive as an inventor. Edison made 1,000 unsuccessful attempts at inventing the light bulb. Now, how many times do you flip that light switch on? Are you thankful for that? Maybe you're not an inventor, but have you ever failed at business? Henry Ford failed and went broke 5 times. 5 times before he became known as one of the largest car manufacturers of all times. Maybe you're not into cars. How about sports? The all-time great Babe Ruth struck out 1,330 times in his career. For a long time, he held the record for the most home runs. But did you know that for decades, he held the record for the most strikeouts? But Babe wasn't the only strikeout. Maybe you recognize this person. Walt Disney. He was fired by a newspaper editor because he lacked imagination and had no good ideas. He went bankrupt several times before he built Disneyland. In fact, the proposed park was rejected by the city of Anaheim in California on the grounds that it would only attract riffraffs. Today, millions of so-called riffraffs from all over the world venture to Disneyland theme parks and cruises and resorts. And yes, one more failure to consider. For all of those music lovers who are looking to find more success one day in that area, Beethoven said it was to handle the violin awkwardly and preferred playing his own compositions instead of improving his technique. His teacher called him hopeless as a composer. Need I say more? Well, perhaps you've heard of some of these names, if not all of them. So why am I making so much of them? You see, these individuals learned something that perhaps maybe you have not. That is that failure is one step closer to success. You see, Thomas Edison said it best when he said, many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up. Are you close to giving up? Are you afraid to start? Do you need to overcome your fear of failure and learn to succeed? Well, I have 4 steps for you that will help you embrace failure and will help you overcome it, and it'll help you to succeed. Celebrate failure. What? Yes, celebrate your failure. When you can get past your own pride and realize that failure is a part of your growing, then you're just getting started. Know that failure is a part of your learning and ultimately a part of your success. Yes, know that when you can really internalize this, true learning that no school can teach you, will begin. Comprehend. Comprehend yourself. Comprehend your failure. Evaluate and learn from your past mistakes. If something didn't work, then identify why. In other words, learn to comprehend what worked and what didn't work. You see, if you have a comprehension of why a venture failed, then you can learn from that mistake and then learn to try another method. You see, change comes from failure, and change gets you on your way. Don't repeat your past mistakes. You see, it's not just a cliche when George Santayana said, those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat. Collaborate. Surround yourself with people that will allow you to fail. Do you know who those people are? Let's take a look at an example of this. There was an executive vice president, in fact, a newly hired executive vice president, that made a very bad decision for his company. In fact, this decision was so bad, it cost the company over $2 million. When all was said and done, he knew he was going to get fired. So he waited for the CEO to call him. When the phone finally rang, the executive VP went down to the CEO's office, dug his heels in for the inevitable. Well, the CEO asked him, "Why did you make that decision? What information did you use to make that decision? How could have that decision turned out differently?" As the meeting came to a close, the executive VP was utterly confused. So he looked at the CEO and kind of went, "So you're not going to fire me?" Well, the CEO replied. He said, "Heavens no. I just invested $2 million into your education." While this situation is a little extreme, the principle is the same. Collaborate. Surround yourself with people who will allow you to fail, and appreciate what you learn from those failures. Commit. You have to commit to yourself. You have to have an iron will that you won't give up. Keep trying no matter how much or how many times you may fail. Don't stop with the failure. Remember what Edison said. He said, "Many of life's failures are those who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up." You see, one of the most common causes of failure is the habit of quitting when one is overtaken by temporary defeat. You see, almost everyone is guilty of that. In Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, he talks about a gentleman who got caught up in the gold fever during the time of the gold rush and went west to pursue his dreams. He found a piece of land in Colorado, and he was digging around and he found gold ore. Excited, he went back home to Maryland, told his friends, told his family about it. They got together the money to buy some drills so that they could dig and get that gold ore. So that man went back to Colorado. Down went the drills, up went their hopes, and they proved to have one of the wealthiest gold mines in Colorado. Just a couple more pieces, a couple more carts of gold, and their debt would be paid, and they'd be very wealthy. Well, tragedy struck. The vein of gold stopped, and they drilled to no avail. Eventually, they quit and gave up. This man packed his bags and went home. Well, the junk man had heard about the empty land and the old machinery, went to Maryland to find the man, and offered him a few $100s to buy all that from him. The man accepted it. The junk man went back to Colorado, hired an engineer, and asked him where should he drill. The engineer told him he should continue to drill exactly where the other man left off. He said, "If you drill 3 more feet down, you will find that gold and you will pick up the vein of gold." He said the other man didn't know about fault lines. So the junk man drilled 3 more feet down, and that's exactly where he found the gold. And he became a very wealthy man. You see, the junk man knew something that the other man didn't. He sought expert advice when he didn't know what to do. See, when you commit to yourself, you will find people to help you. So commit. These are the 4 steps you need to take failure and turn it into success. Remember, these 4 steps, they are celebrate, comprehend, collaborate, and commit. Yes, they're very simple, but no, they're not very easy. You see, sometimes you'll get angry, and if you do get angry, let nothing stop you to help you succeed. This is Byron Akagawa. Remember, do more, be more, live more.